Welcome everybody, hope you're well. This is going to be another installment of Pinescript tutorials. Today I thought I would take a look at the Stochastic and the Stochastic RSI. And so some of you already know what they are, some of you don't. So the first part is I'm going to explain what a stochastic is, how it's calculated, and give you a visual representation of what it is. So in a nutshell, stochastic is a function that measures the range between the closing price and the lowest price within a given range, and that is then calculated or divided against the range from the highest high to the lowest low. So it essentially measures how does price relate to the most recent range of price. So to give you a visual representation of what that all is, let's go down into our Pinescript editor, and here we have a brand new study. So for starters, let's just rename this as something like stochastic example, for example. That'll do. Okay, and while we're at it, let's also give it a short title. Let's call it STOEX. That'll do. Okay, so within a stochastic, you give it a length of time for it to look back and determine what the trading range was. So from the highest high to the lowest low within that range. The highest high and the lowest low are not necessarily on the same candle. So first of all, let's define a variable, and we're going to call that length. And that is going to have an input so that the user can change the value. For now, I'm just going to say 14. And we also will give it a minimum value so that the user can't accidentally put in 0 or -5 or whatever. So we're just going to type in min val, all lowercase, and that's going to equal 1. Alright, so that's the end of that. So we now have a variable called length. Let's give it a bit of room. Okay, so to start with, we want to determine what the highest high was. So within a given period of time, what was the highest high? So let's call that upper. Now the upper is going to call a function called highest, and the highest value within the length variable. So if the length is 14, which it is, then what upper is going to do is it's going to have the highest value within that length of time. So 14 bars, within 14 bars, it's going to determine what that highest value is. So in this case, over here, it would probably be this candle here. And if we look at these values around here, it would be $6,149.20. So let's just, for argument's sake, let's plot the upper value. Now we're also going to want to overlay this on top of the candles. So we're going to make overlay equal true. Okay, now just so that we can make sure it shows up nicely, we'll put here title, and that's going to equal upper, and the line width is going to equal 2 so it stands out, and let's call the color is going to, let's say it's going to be red. Yep. Oh, and let's also make sure that it is not transparent whatsoever. So if we save that, stochastic example, let's just... Yes, I want to replace whatever was there. Okay, so let's add that to our chart. And this red line now represents the highest value that price got to within 14 periods. So if we zoom in a bit, so at the moment in the last 14 periods, within this period of time here, as we can see, the highest value was indeed this candle, and it was $6,149.20. This value here will show you. So that's what the upper line is all about. So now we can do the same thing for lower. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line and I'm going to copy it. Now to copy it, if you press Shift and Alt, if you're on a PC, I'm on a PC, I'm not on a Mac. If you're on a Mac, I'm sure you know the different buttons, so I'm just going to go PC language here. I'm going to hold Shift and Alt and down arrow. And now I've made a copy of that whole line. So I'm now going to rename the variable lower, and this time I want the lowest value within that length of time. I'm now going to copy this line. I'm going to plot lower, and let's call this one a lime color so it stands out, and we'll save that. And now we should get a lime colored line underneath the candles. And here we are. So this represents the highest value within that period of time and the lowest value within that period of time. And as you can see, prices, the range contracted here, contracted, and now it's expanding because Bitcoin is going back up a few dollars. Okay, so now we have an upper range and an upper value and a lower value, which means we have a range between those values. So what a stochastic does is it then takes the closing price and determines how does it relate within that range. So what we shall do is we shall have, let's call it a basis line, and that's simply just going to equal close, the closing price. Okay, and while I'm at it, let's show you a different way of putting in these values here. So instead of typing out color equals red, transparency equals 0, I'm going to put it basis color equals, and now I'm going to call the function color, and I'm going to give it two parameters. I'm going to give it a color, so let's call it yellow. That's not ever going to spell it, yellow. And I'm going to give it a transparency, 0. Okay. Now, if I plot the basis color, the basis line, between those lines, I'm going to move the upper plot line up. And to do that, rather than holding Shift and Alt, I'm just going to hold the Alt button and up arrow, and it moves that line up. Now I'm going to take that and copy it down and get rid of that. Okay, so let's plot the basis line, or title it basis, and this time I'm going to take the color equals basis color. So now if I save that, I should get a yellow line between these two red and green lines. And there it is. Get rid of you. So as we can see, it follows the closing price of each candle, and it goes down, goes up, down, up, down, up, down. Crypto goes up, crypto goes down. Okie dokes. So how does this make it a stochastic? So at the moment it doesn't. What I'm going to do is I'll explain how it works. First of all, I'm going to create a variable from the plot line. And to do it, I'm going to call that P1 equals that plot line. And so what it's doing is for each time it draws that line, that value is stored in another variable, and this variable is called P1. The next one I'll call P2. And so now I can call the fill command. That's not fill, that would be fill. And then we feed it two parameters, P1, P2. And let's give it the color. Color equals, let's give it the same, actually let's give it yellow, but this time I'm going to make the transparency 70. And I won't bother, oh, actually, you know what, let's take a title just to be due diligence, whatever, and I'll call that fill. Now if I save that, it should now fill in the bottom section like so. So how is this a stochastic? The function of a stochastic is, well, is a closing price minus the low price, and in which case it would be that range there, and then it divides that value from the highest price down to the lowest price. So essentially this much divided by this much, and then we would get a decimal point, a decimal value. Then we times that by 100 and we get a percentage. So we can visually see at the moment that it's fairly high, not 100%, maybe that's possibly 75%, roughly, whatever. Alright, so that's what, I'm just going to delete everything off the chart. Okay, so how do we make that a stochastic? Alright, well let's show us. Let's start a brand new indicator, and let's kill that. Okay, so we're starting with a brand new script. For starters, oh goodness me, go away. Okay, let's call this my stochastic. Now we're going to need a length, and let's give it the same as we did before. Input 14, min val equals 1. And let's tell the user what it is. Title equals stochastic length. Now let's create a stochastic. Now the great thing is with TradingView is it has the stochastic function built in. So what we will do is we will go sto is equal to stoch, stoch for short, and then we're going to give it 4 parameters. And if we want to know what those parameters are, we can just hover over that word, and there it is there. It needs a source, a high, a low, and a length. So the source is going to be the closing price. Alright, so let's just type close. Next it needs a high. So we have highest, and it's going to, the highest function needs a length. So we're just going to go length, and it needs a low, so we'll go lowest length, and then it needs the stochastic function itself needs the length. And that is going to store the stochastic value into a variable called sto for short. Next, we can plot that. So let's plot that, and we're going to give it a title equals stochastic. We're going to give it a color. Actually, let's go color equals color. Let's make it white with 0 transparency. So as you can see here, I'm taking the function color, assigning it a variable, a parameter of white with 0 transparency, and assigning that to the color parameter of the plot line. I want the line width to be 2, so it shows up fairly easily. So if I now hit save, let's see what that does. My stochastic, sure, let's call it that. And now we'll add that to the chart. And now because I didn't use the overlay function, it's plotted that below. Okay, so now we have a stochastic line, which is pretty jagged, pretty solid, and you can see it pretty much sort of follows the price. But how is it going to be valuable to us? Well, we want to sort of give it a range that we can visually see where things are. Is it too high? Is it too low? Is it overbought, oversold, whatever. So to do that, let's put in 2 horizontal lines. H line. Let's give one horizontal line a value of 80, and well, let's call that title equals, let's give that the upper limit. Let's give the, actually let's just take the color function there, put a comma in between it. 80, let's call that red, and let's give the style of it a solid line. No, actually no, let's make it dashed. And then we'll copy that line down, and we'll give this one a value of 20. We'll call that lower, and we'll call that one line. Save, and let's see if we get any errors. Of course we do, why not? Style, that's right, I always get those wrong. Line style. There we go. If you ever need to figure out what's going on with any errors, it says line 7 unknown argument style. Alright, line 7, and that's because the parameter value is line style, not style. So if I clear the console, right click, clear console, hide it, and now hit save, it should be okay with that. Oh, and there it is. So here we go. We have a jagged stochastic line, and up it goes, down it goes, and all sorts. So let's now do something with stochastic. Let's smooth that line a little bit so it's not so jagged. So to do that, we are going to copy that line. We're going to call that smooth. Actually, let's give it a capital. Smooth. Let's call it smooth, and let's give that a value of 3. And then we'll call this one percentage K. And that is going to be an SMA, simple moving average of stochastic with the length. Now SMA takes 2 parameters, a data point or a source of data and a length. So in this case we're going to put the length, what we allocated to the smooth variable. Now if I take that plot line, I'll copy that. We're going to call that percentage %k. Let's give that aqua. And yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. And then we're also going to copy smooth, and we're going to call that, actually, yeah, let's just give it a, usually it's called other things. You can call it percentage %k, call it k, and actually let's do that. We'll call that k, we'll call that d, and then we'll call that percentage %k and percentage %d. So now the smooth is going to be k. So then if we take that line and we do that, we're going to give that a name percentage %d, and we're going to give that length a d, and then we're going to call that, it's called percentage %k, this one is called percentage %d, percentage %d, and that can be a nice red color. Alright, so let's check our work. We have a length of 14, we have a k smoothing value of 3, we have a signal line of 3, we create a stochastic function from the closing price between the highest high and the lowest low within a length of time. We smooth that stochastic line with the variable in the k, which is 3, and then we smooth that line with a signal line of 3. So if we hit save, we should get something that looks like an error. Blah. Syntax error at line 7, so it doesn't like the k. So let's get rid of percentage %k. Obviously can't use the percentage, and no wonder. So let's hit save. Oh, look at that. And it didn't like that. Ah, that's because, why is that? Oh, because D needs to be a K. Boom. Now we should get something that looks like a stochastic. There we go. And now there it is. So what had happened there is we had the same value going in at the same smoothing level, so that both lines were overlaid on top of each other perfectly, which is why it looked like one line. So that is how you make a stochastic. You have a length, which I've given it as 14. You get another length of the smoothing line, you get a D line, which is a signal line of that. You have a stochastic function which calls the stochastic value as the close, the highest, the lowest, the length. You create a smoothing of that line, and then you take a signal line of that line, so the K goes into there, uses the smoothing value of the D, and so that is essentially what creates these values. The two lines are the K and the D line, and then we plot those lines, plot D, plot K, and then just to give us a source of reference, we have two horizontal lines and we plot them all out. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. I do plan on doing a few more videos. If you have any suggestions or any comments or even any corrections, I'd love to hear them. Note them down in the comments. If you'd like to be notified of when I put out another video, you know what you got to do. There's the subscribe button there. You don't have to smash it, you don't have to smack it, just use your mouse and click it.
Much appreciated. Have an awesome day. Do good things. See you next time. See you later.